Okay, good morning, friends. While we are waiting for others to join, I just want to say this is my first live showing my face. I'm in my studio in my living room, and I printed out some talking points so that way I have a little direction. This is going to be travel question and answer, travel chat. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. And so some of the hot topics right now are, or some of the questions that I always hear are about passports, travel insurance, travel to other countries, cruise travel, and also gratuities. Let me write that down. So one of the things with gratuities, people want to remove them. That is an automatic charge that shows up on your cruise expenses when you are settling your account at the end of your cruise. Welcome, Summer. Thanks for joining. So one of the things with gratuities, it's an automatic charge. There's a recommended amount for each day. Some people want to take the gratuities off, and they prefer to pay the service providers directly, so like at the bar or the server at your table and stuff like that. So one thing to remember is there are other staff members behind the scenes that are watching or helping you during your cruise. So you want to be sure that they are also given gratuities. So that's how the automatic gratuities comes into play. That covers everybody. Now, if you want to add additional gratuities, then that is always appreciated by the cruise staff, but it's not required. So how you handle your gratuities is to your own comfort level. One thing to remember is if you're removing them to just completely not pay them at all, I would encourage you not to do that. But welcome everybody, thanks for joining. So just like when you're at home, if somebody is providing you a service when you go to a restaurant or in a hotel, the bellman is helping you with your baggage, or the room service attendant, you want to provide a gratuity for that. I am not of the over tipping type of situation. I do pay the gratuities automatically, and then if during our trip, say on a cruise, we notice somebody that's going above and beyond, then we also have extra funds to provide that directly to that person. Now, we have been on Norwegian Cruise Line's cruise and Disney Cruise. The way that Disney Cruise did it is they printed out slips of paper and they provide you with envelopes. So we prepaid the gratuity, but then we also had the opportunity to give more. So if you want to give more, there's the envelope, you put the slip and the additional amount in the envelope, and then it's sealed and it was in the stateroom and the attendant would collect it, or you can take it and drop it at guest services. You want to research your gratuity situation with your cruise line that you're cruising with. How do you settle it up at the end? How can you add more if your stateroom attendant was really above and beyond? Welcome, welcome. Thanks you guys for showing up. I appreciate it. Just doing a little travel Q&A, and I have some talking points. So until we get some questions rolling in, then I'll just do my talking points. Right now I'm talking about gratuities. So just like when you're at home, you want to give a little extra to the people who are helping you out during your travel, and that would be the room attendants, hotel staff, the bellman, room service, and bartenders, wherever you see fit. So Usually with cruise lines, they have a recommended daily amount per person for the gratuities, but there has been discussion where people remove the gratuities. They opt to pay directly to the service provider, or sometimes I think I've heard where people just don't pay a gratuity at all. That I do not encourage at all. I think it's important to recognize the people who are working hard to make your cruise experience much better. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining. Hi, Cruising. How are you doing? I forget your full name, and it's just Cruising with Kimberly, I think it is. It kind of cuts off the names, so I recognize some of them just by the first word, but some of them I don't get the whole name. But yeah, so if you are traveling just in general, you want to keep in mind that people are going above and beyond and helping you out. It is not so widely acceptable. Okay, Cruising Kimberly, gotcha. It is not so widely acceptable to tip as much in other countries. So if you're not on a cruise ship and you're traveling to another country, research what is the custom for tipping in that country. I'm doing good today, Kimberly. How are you? I figured I'd print out some talking points and just kind of talk to the camera while I'm watching the chat. So I'm looking at the camera, looking at the chat, and just go over some talking points, travel tips, travel talk. I was gonna head out and go live from another destination, but I thought, let me just sit in my living room because I do have to work this afternoon as well. So of course, one of the talking points is gratuities. When you're cruising, oh, thank you for the heart me. When you're cruising, the gratuities are automatically included as a charge on your bill. So it will be settled up at the end unless you prepay before you even get on your cruise. So that is an option. And then, of course, there's always the option to pay more. If you like to tip more, you can tip more, but always encourage just at least pay the suggested minimum. So another talking point is travel insurance. Now, I have heard different options for travel insurance, and I will be educating myself even more because I am finishing my training. I am a travel agent, so I'll be finishing my training, and then in order to help my clients, I would need to know what types of travel insurance are out there and available. So one of the things is tip the company. I think that the way that works, Kimberly, is you would tip the excursion host, and then if the excursion is booked through the cruise line, I think that you would still be able to tip separately from that. I don't think that that's included with the automatic gratuities that are charged with the ship, because each traveler is going to have their own excursions that they would book. So percentage wise, I'm not really sure. I don't recall if we tipped on an excursion, because our most recent trip to Alaska, which was fall of 2024, we did not do any excursions. So there may also be an opportunity to look at the excursion provider, whether you do it independently or through the cruise ship, and they may have that information on their website that would say, hey, if you enjoy your experience, this is what we recommend. That is one thing that I find really helpful. If I'm not sure, I would look at the service provider's website, and then I would also think in my head, do I want to just give a flat amount and kind of have it predetermined before I even go on the excursion? Like, okay, well, if I have a really great time, I'm gonna tip $5. $20. If it's not so great of an experience, but I got back safely, then I'm only going to tip $5. So just kind of have those figures in mind. Yes, annual travel insurance. So that was another thing that I had on my talking points. There is an option where you can get an annual policy. You can plug in your information about where you typically travel, how far you travel, and then they can price it out for you. But then also make sure you're reading all the fine print on what's covered, which policy you're buying, because there are different price points. There is the minimum, and then there's like the premium. So then something like cancel for any reason is going to cost you more. Then if you're doing a per trip type of travel insurance, you're going to plug in all your travel components, your air, car rental, excursions, hotels, whatever is included, and then they will give you a quote based on that. So then are you looking for cancel for any reason, medical evacuation, transportation if you're stuck at a destination? So just look at all the different components. Places like Talk, Odyssey, and Gate One Travel. Kimberly, are those going to be the travel or tour provider? I think in that case. So for example, now this was a long time ago, I did travel with a group to Greece. I left the United States on my own. I met up with the tour group in Greece, and then we had kind of like an orientation. And then during that orientation, the tour provider gave us expectations of where we would be going, what our speed would be as far as activity level, and then what would the expectation be at the hotels. So as an American traveling abroad, we might not realize that when you get to a 5-star hotel abroad, it's not going to be like what we call a 5-star hotel in America. Good morning, Kath. How are you doing? So look at and read what the tour company is telling you about the accommodations and all that. And then when you have your group tour orientation, then you would listen to what they are saying, recommendations for tipping, gratuities, stuff like that. I believe in those situations, and again, this was a long time ago in the 80s, maybe mid 90s, we tipped the tour guide, and then the tour guide would also make recommendations when we got to the different destinations. If we're at a museum and then we had a docent showing us around, excuse me, she would recommend that we provide a gratuity to the docent, as an option, like a donation type. So I believe each different travel provider is going to have their recommendations. Okay, let me scroll through. I saw another question, and this is my first live using my desktop, so let me see if I could figure this out. About the medical insurance abroad. So that is a good point, because some people don't realize that if you are traveling abroad or even on a cruise, your medical insurance may not cover you. So you want to perhaps have some sort of medical insurance or travel insurance that's going to cover your medical expenses. You never know what can come up. You might need to visit the ship's doctor. You might need to visit a doctor in the country that you are visiting. Hey, Lisa, how's it going? So you want to make sure, what does your insurance cover from home, and then what do you need to insure when you go on your trip. Let's see. Cruising Kimberly has a question. Recommend tours specifically for single young adults in Europe. Your son didn't like G Adventures. I have not experienced any single young adult travel in Europe, tours specifically for them. But let me make a note of that, because as a travel agent, I'll be researching that kind of stuff. Even though I won't be booking air, it could be that I am booking or recommending tour groups that the client would like to use. So young adults, let me just make a note, single in Europe. And that also brings up another question. It's good to practice safety no matter where you're traveling, especially for ladies who may be traveling solo. So we always say head on a swivel. Be aware of your surroundings. Keep your personal possessions close at hand. Don't have like a big old bag that's flowing in the wind and anybody can just run by and grab it. So, you know, practice your personal safety. If you're not clear on what that might include, you can always look up and maybe participate in a travel safety course, or what do you call it? Self-defense. And so then that will give you some more confidence. Okay, your son did a trip to Costa Rica, wants to figure it out, and might just go solo. Hey, that sounds like a great idea. So what I did, and I was in my 20s, I traveled with a group, but I was a solo traveler. So when we got together as the group, we were all together seeing the sites, but there were also options to go on your own. And when you travel with a travel tour group, you can also pick the pace for your trip. You can pick the theme and the pace, and by looking at the itinerary, determine what is a good fit for you. You can have more days that are on your own, meaning you're going solo to go explore on your own. And you may meet friends within the group that you then want to travel with during the on your own. But there are certainly destinations that are very solo friendly. Let me write that down. Destinations for solo travel. And then yeah, of course, cruising, Kimberly. Yes, ever, like forever, Kath, there are pickpockets everywhere. So when I was in Greece, again, that was in the mid-90s, but this holds true, I think, wherever you go. They had warned us of distraction tactics. So in America, we think like, oh, look at that cute little kid. But when we went to Greece, or when my travel group was in Greece, they said, you know, they will use there are gypsies. At that time, that's what the term was that they were using. There are gypsies that kind of work in a group. They'll have somebody, like a little kid, doing some entertainment or something that's like a distraction tactic, and somebody else would come by and pickpocket you. So that's what I'm talking about when I say general travel safety. You want to be aware of your surroundings, and you want to practice your personal safety. Like, you know, don't have your big old designer handbag that's like a tote that is wide open and it doesn't zipper shut. Carry just your bare essentials. And then I think it's Lisa that talked about using a crossbody bag. I can't recall, but if you see people on TikTok or on YouTube that are traveling, you'll notice that if they are avid travelers, they kind of downscale and they don't really wear a bunch of lavish jewelry. They're not trying to bring attention to themselves. It doesn't mean, you know, dress frumpy or look nasty, but don't attract yourself. Don't attract attention to yourself as a target. So, you know, just practice your own personal safety. And I say take a self-defense class too, because it will help you. Don't try to fight someone if they want to take your purse, but, you know, it'll help you have more confidence. How to walk confident, and look like less of an easy target. Okay, so let's see what else do I have on my list. So travel insurance. There are a lot of different components that come into travel insurance. Um, there is an option where you can get an annual policy. You want to look at the annual policy. What does it cover and when is it in effect? Is it going to cover me when I go to the grocery store 4 blocks away? Probably not. You are traveling away from your home, but that's part of your usual daily excursion or activities. So one thing I did see when I was researching is that a policy would take effect when you are 200 miles from your home. So I don't know that it triggers only when you get to that 200 miles away from home marker, or if they're talking about your destination needs to be at least 200 miles from your home, which is interesting because if I was traveling, say, from where I live in San Diego to Disneyland, that's not 200 miles, but if I'm looking for something to supplement my travel, I could be flying. I might have baggage. You just don't know. You don't have to drive. But that would be something to explore on what exactly is covered, how far do I need to travel for the destination, and at what point is it considered a trip and that the insurance is going to be in effect. So that would be something that you're looking at on that provider's website. Now, there is a travel insurance website that I like to look at, and I've heard it recommended several times. It's called Allianz, or Allianz, but it ends with a Z, Allianz, and you can put in your different travel components, your destination, your flights, your car rental, excursion tickets. Let's say you get to your destination, you're going to be going to the theater, you're going to be doing other activities. You want to include all that information. I'm not sure that you give, yes, that's it. That's it, Kath, Allianz. So you want to be upfront with what you are trying to insure so that way you can get the coverage that you need. And then within that offering, you're going to be able to look at, okay, do I want cancel for any reason? What if I get sick? What if we have an accident a day before we're supposed to be leaving for our vacation and we can't go on the Allianz? Yeah, I don't know the actual pronunciation, but I always say Allianz because to me it looks like that, but Allianz. Either way, there's the spelling. Now so here are some things that I read on the different websites. There's different levels of coverage. One will be just the basic, so it's going to be less expensive, but it's kind of you get what you pay for. So if you get the lowest tier, that's only going to cover, let's say, your cruise, or it's only going to cover your flights, then you're going to kind of be stuck if your baggage is lost, or if your cruise gets completely canceled, or if you have a medical emergency that you can't go on your trip or you can't continue your trip. So one thing that I have heard, and I did not research this myself, but I have been, it has been recommended to me not to use let's say you're going on a cruise, not to use the cruise travel insurance, because that basically only covers the cruise. So I believe it might include flights if you have the cruise line arrange your flights, But again, read the fine print, because you don't want to be comparing peaches with oranges or apples with oranges, or, you know, peaches with apples. You want to make sure you're comparing all of the components, all the claim opportunities appropriately, so that you can compare the pricing. So here are some of the things that you may not realize, but that can be part of your travel insurance claim. Now, on a website called Alltrips, their basic level they recommend, or they described as the most economical choice, is $138 for the total cost, but it's going to cover a lot less than the other, say, executive level. So let's see. Alltrips Executive Business Traveler's Best Friend Annual Policy, and I don't know why it gave me age of traveler 64. I'm not even 64 yet. Trip length up to 45 days. Maybe it was just a little template. $510. And then sample things that were covered are epidemic endorsement. So that means that's an endorsement that's going to expand, hi KB, and include any kind of epidemic that might come up. You're covered if that affects your travel. Other sample things covered: trip cancellation, trip interruption, emergency medical, emergency transportation, baggage loss or baggage damage, baggage delay, travel delay, rental car damage and theft, business equipment coverage, business equipment rental coverage, change fee coverage, travel accident coverage, loyalty program redeposit fee coverage, and 24-hour hotline assistance. Oh, thank you, KB. Yes, please, everybody share the live out. Get some more people in here, chat with us. I'm trying to build my audience, we are just doing travel talk, KB. I have some talking points to get it rolling, and then if anybody has questions, they can put that in the chat. So if you're not following me and you like to travel, you can go ahead and give me a follow. And I have a YouTube channel as well, so you can subscribe there. On YouTube, they call it subscribe, but it is free. When you subscribe, it just is basically telling YouTube you're interested in that content. But another little trick, if you go and you subscribe but you don't watch any content, then they think you're a bot. So if you would like to subscribe, you go there, subscribe, and then watch a piece of content. I have shorts there, I have long form, I've got everything. Welcome, Traveling Balloon Guy. Thanks for coming in. So if you listen to all those different things that are included on the full coverage travel insurance policy, especially if you purchase the annual, and again, you can do price comparison. There's Allianz, there is Alltrips, and then if you just Google it, you're going to get a lot of different options on who can provide you what you're looking for. So example, one of the things that is saying it's covered is travel delay. Now, in the climate that we're in right now with the airlines, I just hear horror stories all the time. So if you're looking to kind of add a little financial protection, you're going to look at travel delay, look in the fine print, read the fine print. What are they talking about travel delay? Does it mean an hour or does it mean 3 days? At what point can I file a claim with this insurance that I've purchased? Now, another thing to consider is, let's see, insurance claims. What I have written down is when, where, how, and what is required for supporting documentation. So they're not going to honor a claim where you say, well, I was thinking about going to buy these tickets, and then I couldn't buy the ticket. Well, you're not really out any money, but always look at the fine print on what does that mean. What is the claim going to be for, and what kind of reparations do they offer? Thank you for the gifts, guys. They're always appreciated, but never required, obviously, never expected. So then you have the different grade levels for the travel insurance. You can get the really, really cheap one, and it barely covers anything. And then you can get the mid-range, which might be more in your budget. And then, yes, Kath, exactly. So Kath is reminding us that go into each insurer's webpage and read. You always want to read the fine print. If there's anything that you aren't sure about, you can always call them. And then after you call them, or while you're on the phone with them, ask them, where can I see that in writing? Because you want to make sure that you have it in writing. And then I think even printing out what is in effect at the time that you purchase your policy. So again, different options. Executive level, business travel, especially content creators, you want to make sure that you are insuring your equipment that you're bringing with you. I don't know, maybe even make an inventory of what you're bringing with you. Then read, as Kath has recommended. Then you have the mid-range, which is prime, peace of mind for frequent travelers. You can purchase a policy per trip, or you can purchase a policy that is an annual policy. I have heard a lot of different price quotes, and it seems that the annual policy is the cheapest if you're going to be traveling more than one big trip. But always read the fine print, know what you're paying for. And then if somebody tells you, oh, well, I got my insurance at this place for this much, it might sound like it's a lot cheaper, but they could have a completely different coverage than what you're looking at. So make sure you read and review and understand what you are getting and if that fits in with your need. You're going to have a different type of insurance need for a cruise. You want to include your excursions. When you need to have the trip insurance paid. So my experience has been that you're only insured for the portion that you have paid. Example, let's say I'm going on a trip and I have made a deposit of $400, but I haven't paid anything else on the trip. If I do not have the travel insurance before I pay that deposit, typically that would not be covered. But again, you want to look at the provider's website and make sure that you understand the timing of when you need to purchase your policy compared to how much you have paid for the trip. So that's a very good question, Kath, and a good clarifying point, because if you've already paid for the whole trip and then you go to purchase the insurance, you could get in a sticky situation because you're kind of playing with fire. Something could happen while you're waiting to purchase the policy, but that is something to ask and read up about on how much you've paid, when you paid, and how much is covered at what point. You don't want to be in a situation where you just paid off your trip and then you have an emergency and you meant to purchase the policy but you didn't. So definitely. Now, one of the trips that we were getting ready to take, I believe it was our Alaska cruise. I wanted to secure the cruise, so I made the deposit. We were going on a group cruise with our travel agent and a bunch of other people, but I didn't want to pay a bunch right there for the deposit because we were still kind of deciding. When I went to the travel insurance website to look and see what I wanted to purchase, because we would be traveling by air from San Diego to Seattle. Then we would be staying in Seattle for 2 days. So we also had a hotel, and then we had the cruise, and we had not booked any excursions at that time, but you can see with those different things adding on. But let's say the deposit was maybe $200. So even if the insured amount didn't include the deposit, not being reimbursed for the deposit according to the insurance requirement is better than not being reimbursed for any of the other travel expenses. So definitely make sure what are the requirements of the insurance provider so that you're clear on what you're purchasing, when you're purchasing it, and what will be covered. I believe when we traveled on our Disney cruise, we did opt to get the insurance through Disney on the first cruise because I was green on knowing like what's what. At that time that we opted in for the insurance, it was already like purchased with the whole package because it's included in the bottom line. But again, buyer beware. You read, and call and ask questions and ask for the information on where you can read that and see it in writing. Okay, so another talking point, passports. A lot of Americans do not have passports, so when it's recommended that they get a passport, they say, oh, it's so expensive. Is it an investment? Yes. I believe the website, which is the government passport website, is quoting $165 for adults, plus the processing fee, and there's another fee. So that's a good chunk of change on top of the cost of your vacation. But if you think about that you're paying that fee once every approximately 9.5 months, it equals out to, Kat and Lisa did the math for us, Chip and Lisa's Adventures, Chip and Lisa's Vacations, sorry, I don't remember, that it's about 10 cents a day when you consider your passport is good for 9.5 years to 10 years, depending. And I say depending, and that's for an adult. A child under 16, the passport is good for 5 years, but many countries, many destinations require that you have at least 6 months left on your passport at the end of your travel time. So let's say your end of your travel time is September 15th. Your passport needs to be good for 6 months after September 15th. So I did look up and see which countries require that. So it's formatted as 6 months validity required for below countries. And again, this is just a sample list. You can always research this on the U.S. passport website. So the areas would be Southeast Asia, including China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Cambodia, and Laos. Another is the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the UAE. The UAE is the United Arab Emirates. Other regions include Burma, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Russia, Israel, Egypt, and Turkey. So if you're going to be planning a trip to any of those locations, and again, just a sample list, you want to check on your passport, make sure it's good for 6 months after the end of your trip. the processing time for passports has improved greatly, but you don't want to take any chances. You definitely would want to renew and also research your destination on the government website. The U.S. government passport website is going to give you travel advisories, passport information, processing centers, locations that are, I think the terminology they use is passport acceptance offices. Usually a common one is the post office. I have had great luck using college campuses. They usually will have a passport office on the campus, and I find that they take walk-ins a lot easier. And yes, Kath, that is true. There are also some countries that require visas, and some countries also require certain vaccinations. So that would be something to research when you are planning your trip as well. Now, as a traveler, even if you're using a travel agent, you want to be sure and be in the know on what is required for the country you're visiting. With the access to the internet, we're very lucky. We have access to so much information, so you want to check that for sure. Do I need any immunizations? And the reason might be because of mosquitoes in an area that you're traveling to, or a known illness that is prevalent in an area that you're traveling to, or an immunization vaccine that we don't typically get in America because you're going to an area that may have that, a specific illness, or like mosquitoes and stuff that are going to transmit some sort of illness. So definitely you want to research your passport, your visa, and immunizations. Great question. So I thought of something else. Oh, there are things called open loop cruise or closed loop cruise. Now, on a closed loop cruise, and this is specific to cruising, and cruising from the United States, that means you're beginning and ending your cruise from the same U.S. port. And thanks again, you guys, for all the gifts. I really appreciate it. KB, I love that Journey Pass. That is so cute. I haven't even seen that gift before. And again, it's never expected, but it's always appreciated. So thank you so much. Makes me feel like appreciated, and you value my time. So thank you for that. So closed loop means that you're beginning and ending your cruise from the same port. And I'll just read it as I copied it from the internet. For U.S. citizens, open loop cruises generally require a passport, while closed loop cruises may not, depending on the specific itinerary and destination countries. Now, keep in mind that if you have a medical emergency or you need to be evacuated from a port that happens to be in a country other than the United States, you may run into a challenge if you don't have a passport. So open loop cruise, hey Lois, open loop cruise, and again, this is specific to cruising, refers to a cruise itinerary that starts at one U.S. port and ends at a different U.S. port, or a cruise that includes a foreign port of call outside of the Western Hemisphere. What is the Western Hemisphere? That is a great question that I did not research. I believe we would be talking about North America, western side of the globe. I don't know. If anybody knows, let me write that down. Western Hemisphere. You know how they say there's no dumb questions? Well, I'm not going to try to pretend like I know it all. Western Hemisphere. I will say that geography is much more interesting when you're traveling. Learning about different places when you're traveling to them is much better than just reading about them. Okay, so that is the Mexico and further down, Western Hemisphere. Yeah, so I'm thinking northwest, so north of the equator, and then west of what though? You know what I mean? So I wrote it down. I'm going to research that. All right, let's see what else. Destinations. I have written down destinations. So if you are not traveling on a cruise, but you enjoy travel, when you're thinking of a destination, whether you are on the continental U.S. or traveling across the ocean to Hawaii, or you're traveling north to Alaska, or someplace international, you want to research your location. One of the top questions I hear is, how do I pack? Now, I like to pack with layers. I don't want to put on a giant bulky jacket because that is going to take up a lot of space in my suitcase. And if I'm walking around at my destination, I'm going to be getting overheated, and then I have to take off this bulky jacket and carry this bulky jacket. So, for example, when we went to Alaska, and of course there's always going to be variances because you could have crazy weather to the cold or to the hot for the area. Alaska is going to be moderate. I live in San Diego. It's usually warm and sunny. But even more so, I live in the eastern part of San Diego County where it gets very hot. Often it is over 100 degrees in the summer. The rest of, or other of my family live more closer to the coast. It can be a temperature variance of about 10 to 20 degrees on any given day. So even dressing to head west from where I live, I'm thinking of how am I going to dress? But in Alaska, I had a lightweight synthetic travel shirt. And we're talking about like one outfit. I didn't just take one shirt. And that brand name happened to be 32 degrees. And they offer different fabric configurations for heat or cold. So if you're going to be in warm weather and you need a cooler under layer, you can purchase that. Or if you're going to be in cooler weather and you need a warmer base layer, then you can purchase that. So long sleeves, so that protects from the sun, wind, cold, and then a t-shirt, and then let me think. It was pretty moderate temperatures. I think the coldest it got was low 50s. So layers are great. And so the base layer, t-shirt, maybe a fleece, and then a windbreaker style lightweight jacket that is also waterproof. And then I carried a gaiter, you know, like a fleece kind of gaiter for my neck, and a hat, a beanie style or some sort of warm hat. Any of those pieces you could take off and tuck into a backpack easily. Even the underlayer, if you get too warm, you can pop into a restroom, take the underlayer off, pop it in your backpack, you're good to go. And then for the pants, I think ladies always have I have my skinny clothes and I have my fat clothes. So I bring my fat clothes and I can put my leggings underneath. So then that way I can protect from the wind a little more. And then I had waterproof tennis shoe style shoes that were comfortable for a lot of walking. So researching your destination, whether you're going to be on a cruise ship or you're hopping on a plane and you're flying to a different destination, you want to check your weather. You want to check what currency they use. How readily available is it to you to exchange your money for their currency? And do you need to, or will you be in an area that accepts U.S. currency? Now, there are other considerations and things to research when you are exchanging your currency, because frequent travelers will have tips on where and when to exchange your currency, because you'll get a better exchange rate depending on where you do that currency exchange. Other things to think of, and we did have this brought up by Kath, research safety of the area. Now, it doesn't mean be terrified and don't go. It means research and know what you're getting into. Is this someplace that is fine for me to travel as a young male, or as a young female, or as an older citizen? Is it a great place for me to travel if I have mobility challenges? Will I be able to use my mobility scooter or wheelchair? Is it a good place if I need to use a cane? Is it a safe place for a young lady to be traveling solo? So just be aware of what you are getting into, and then you may or may not need to adjust your destination or your mode of travel. So if it's not safe for a solo traveler, maybe you take that trip with a tour group. Something else to think of at your destination: transportation at the destination. How will I get around? Should I book a hotel closer to the airport? Are there Ubers? Are there Lyfts? Is there a shuttle from the airport to my hotel? Is there a transportation system? Now there is a terminology called transfers. If you are traveling with a group, you sometimes can pay for a transfer, and that transfer means you're transferring from the airport to your hotel, from your hotel back to the airport. So are transfers available? And typically that will be if you're traveling with a group, or even a cruise. So if you're having the cruise ship arrange your airfare, then you can also look into whether transfers are available. Thank you so much, you guys, with all the hearts. I love it. I'm trying to figure out, oh, it says 1.7. Yeah, I'm just learning because I'm using my laptop, so I have an external camera. I couldn't figure out how to expand the screen, but I see the chat. I see the number of likes. I see the number of people. I see no new followers, so that's kind of a bummer, but I see the gifts, so thank you for all of that. Yes, Kath, that is a great question. Reputable travel tour companies via travel agents, not once you enter the foreign country. That is a great idea, because you never know what you might find when you get there. Now, I know that a lot of the tour or the cruise ports have companies that are at the port. So some of those companies might be the same company that the cruise ship contracts with to do the excursions. Some may be independent. You never know what that tour company is. Yeah, hard to get good information on the travel tours, especially once you reach your destination. You're all starry-eyed and you just kind of go to this booth, and then you, oh yay, they're going to take me exactly where I want to go. But then you do your price comparison after the fact and you think, oh wow, maybe I could have gotten a better deal. So whether it's at the cruise ports or if it's at, say, like an airport, because I know a lot of airports also offer something like that, or at your hotel, you want to be, oh, I gotta do my little puzzle. You want to be informed and know what you're getting into. And then what exactly is included. So if you're able to get some recommendations before you leave, and maybe you don't settle exactly on what tour company you might contract with, you can always make a list. You know, you can say, oh, okay, well, I researched this company. This one has a lot of good reviews. These people have used this tour company before. And then you can also research red flags, which ones to steer away from. And that brings up another good point. So some people are really against using a travel agent. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody needs to manage their travel the way that they want to. But one thing that people don't understand is that travel agent services are free. The travel agent is paid a commission by the service provider. Example, if I have a travel agent who books the hotel for me, they may be able to get a better rate, but typically the rate is going to be the same, or you know, apples to apples, whether I use a travel agent or not. It's not going to cost me $10, $15, $20, $50 more because I use a travel agent. And then the same goes with cruises. If you use a travel agent to book your cruise, your travel agent is paid by the service provider. If you're booking a Princess cruise, your travel agent will be paid their commission from Princess Cruises. But that doesn't mean that if you call directly, your fare is discounted because they don't have to pay a travel agent commission. It's the same. The commission is built in already. So you want to be sure and research the travel agent as well. Using my Awala water bottle. This is the Mandalorian theme. So research the travel agent. Research if they're charging you fees. What are they charging you fees for and why? So if the service provider, such as cruise company, Princess, Royal, whichever, is paying the travel agent a commission and the travel agent is charging you a fee, what is that fee for? Because I have heard there are travel agents that will charge a fee just for researching your travel need. So as a travel agent, and I've heard Lisa say this and Kelman, they're both travel agents and they are here on TikTok as well, that they would like to have a conversation with you. So let's say we have Susie Q is going to go on a family vacation. She wants to go on a cruise and she has no idea what kind of cruise. So she's going to talk to Lisa or Kelman and they're going to ask her, what size is your family? What age are your children, if there are any children? Are there any mobility challenges? What destinations do you like? Do you like it warm weather when you're on vacation? Do you like cool weather? Do you like a lot of activity? Do your kids enjoy to be with other kids when they are on vacation? Have you used childcare services before? Now, when my kids were younger and we were on one of our Disney cruises, which, by the way, I do love Disney cruises, but it's not in my budget anymore. They also do not have the adult arcade, so that's something that we're looking forward to at some of our future cruises. But they did not prefer to go to the kids club. It was nothing to do with the offerings at the kids club. It was their own personal preference to be with us or to be on their own on the ship. So if your travel agent wants to interview you and they're going to gather all this information, that's awesome, because they want Disney cruises always. Yeah, I mean, I get it, but if I can take one cruise every 10 years and it's Disney, I'm going to opt for something else. But I'm not going to say somebody else who has that in their budget shouldn't do it. You know what I mean? So each cruise line has their own options, and attractions and amenities that will attract certain people. And one thing that I think is really cool is even if you do not have children, going on a Disney cruise I think is amazing. It's very, very nice, very clean, great service, great food. It's got it all. But the reality is everybody's budget doesn't fit the ability to do that. I'm in San Diego. We have one ship, maybe two now for Disney, that would sail from San Diego. So the limit would be whatever's on the Pacific coast. Because if you add on the airfare, at that time we were a family of four, with children. Now we're a family of four with adult children, and they're employed so they could pay their way. But if we were trying to take our whole family to another port, we would have to add on the airfare. So the airfare plus the cruise fare, it just wasn't doable. But anyway, so when you're talking with your travel agent, you want to make it clear, yes, the parents love the nightlife. They want to be out on the ship, at the club, whatever. And then also check your cruise line, because I am not up on what the safety precautions, rules, regulations, and whatever about leaving your kid in your stateroom alone. I wouldn't recommend that at all, depending on the age of the kids. I'm thinking, and every parent knows their child best, and I would say age 10, 12, and up maybe can be in the room alone. But again, that would be for a limited period of time, and you're going to want to check with your cruise line to see what are the rules and regulations. I'm not recommending that you do that. Just saying that you're going to want to look at the whole picture. Where are your kids going to be comfortable when they're on the cruise? Are you more interested in staying together as a family as you explore the ship? And what are the dining options? Do they have a lot of grab and go? Do they have only special dining or sit down restaurants? What are all the options available? And I will tell you, there are so many ships, I cannot even keep them straight. Depending on if you're with Princess, Royal, MSC, Norwegian, there's going to be many different sizes of ships, many different, Tumble Monkey, many different food options, entertainment options. Some are going to be more active, some are going to be more, I don't want to say older crowd, because older sometimes connotates, oh, it's slow, it's boring. But I think we all know that at any age, people could still be slow and boring. So, and lively. Oh yeah, you can just drive over and get on and go. Exactly. So, what is the activity level? And what kind of activity are you looking for? Are you looking for the adult arcade? Are you looking for go-karts and bumper cars? Are you looking for rock climbing wall, water slides? There is I think it's still on the ships, a ropes course where you go and challenge yourself on a ropes course. There's one where you, I think it's kind of like free fall over the edge of the ship, but not off really. You're connected to a harness. What is it called? Crown's Edge, I think. Royal Caribbean, I think. But there's so many different things. And then do you want a mega ship with a longer cruise time, 7 nights? And then you have so much to do every day. Do you want something that is really just go, go, go? Or do you want to enjoy the pools more? So having that conversation. Now, Let me read this chat real quick. Midwest, have to transfer twice going to Florida, no direct flights. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's another challenge. And then even if we were going to a Long Beach area, which is the Los Angeles port, or the, what is the other one that's up there? It's right, they're right next to each other, so I just say Long Beach. Starts with a P, I think. They call it Los Angeles, the Los Angeles port. So even if we're driving up there, then we have to think about driving, adding that expense. If we can board in San Diego, we can have a family member drop us off, and we spare the expense of the parking. I think the last time we paid $25 or $30 a day for parking. Some of the hotels that are downtown offer long-term parking at a daily rate, so that's nice. Now another thing, if you are flying to your destination, let's make sure I covered everything. Okay, so not speaking specifically of cruises, but traveling in general and researching your destination. Check the transportation at your destination. Will you need a rental car? How can you arrange the rental car? And what is your best option for the rental car? Will you be in a location where you can walk to everything? How many days are you spending there? Can you maybe rent for a portion of the time, walk for a portion of the time, enjoy the amenities at the hotel for a portion of the time? And then research the amenities at your hotel or vacation rental. How much is offered at the hotel? Are you having more of a hotel vacation with some little mini excursions away from the hotel? So here's an example. We took a big family trip to Oahu, and we were at the Aulani Resort. The Aulani Resort is a Disney property, and it is in the middle of nowhere. There are restaurants, other hotels, and there is Paradise Cove, Luau area. So we knew that if we were going to explore the rest of the island, we would need to have a vehicle. Were there amazing amenities at the property? Yes. So we planned to enjoy the property for a set number of days, rent a van, and then have, my husband loved to drive on the island of Oahu. So we rented a van, and then we all piled in the van. Let me think how many there was. Seven of us. So we rented the van, and then now think about this. If you have a rental car, you have to pay for the parking at the hotel. Even if you pick up the car at the hotel, you have to pay the parking for that rental car at the hotel. That's kind of weird, right? Because it's going to be sitting there waiting for someone to use it anyway, right? I just thought of that. That's kind of weird. So what we did is, I had heard that it's cheaper to rent through Costco, and then you can pick the vehicle up at your destination. So that's what we did. I just made sure that the rental company was the one that's on site at Aulani. Then another thing that I learned, luckily just in time, what time does the rental car window open if that amenity is at your hotel? Are you going to be up and away from the hotel early in the morning? You might need to pick up your rental car the night before. So we did rent the car for an extra day, aka night, so that we could load up and leave early the next day. And then we had it all mapped out what we were going to be going to. I believe we adventured out from the resort on 3 different days, and each day we had mapped out so that we weren't wasting time zigzag back and forth. And we had like a family meeting of what everybody wants to see, included everything on the list, and then mapped it out so we could take in all the sites. It was actually very amazing. And the price savings was great too. So if you need a rental car, maybe check out Costco. Okay, so what else? If you are going on a cruise, do not try to fly in the day of your cruise. I promise you, something will go wrong, or in the back of your mind, you're going to be thinking that you hope nothing goes wrong. For us, cruising from San Diego, that's not a problem, but when we needed to get on our Alaska cruise, we looked at Seattle and we said, you know what, let's spend a couple days in Seattle. It looks like it's totally walkable. There's things right there for us to see. We can stay right across the street from the cruise port. And again, if you're looking at different price points for your hotel and researching destinations, you can stay a little bit farther back from the main hub, like downtown, or in this case, Seattle waterfront, and save a little bit of money on your hotel. But you want to also calculate in how will the other costs balance it out. Hi, Lalila. So if you're going to be paying a lot for a rental car just to get around, then it might be better to stay in a more centrally located hotel. Just weigh the options. So by going into, just general travel talk. So I have some talking points. We were talking about insurance, passports, vaccinations, and visas. And now I'm just speaking on destinations, researching destinations, and being in the know for your trip. And actually, I'm getting around to, if you have a travel planner that is acting as a destination researcher for you, that could be a time when that person is maybe charging a fee for destination research. Maybe they aren't booking anything for you, but they're doing research for you, but that would be something you would discuss ahead of time. That's something that I thought of offering outside of travel agent type stuff, but more of destination research, because if you think about somebody who doesn't travel a lot, there could be a lot of things that they aren't thinking of. And if they're not needing somebody to book stuff for them, but research hotels, research location, topography, like is it a walkable city? Is it LGBTQ friendly city? Is it clean and safe for children? So if you have a travel planner that's doing a lot of research for you, but not necessarily booking, then that would be a time when it would be appropriate for that person to charge a fee. I say that only because if they're not doing bookings for you, they're not being paid by a service provider. They wouldn't be earning a commission. But again, that's something that you're going to know up front. So destinations. Okay, so you're going on a cruise. Your cruise is going to be, let's use September 15th again. Shouldn't be too bad. Kids are back in school, maybe lower traffic at the airports, but I promise you, do not try to fly in the day of your, I almost said onboarding, sounds like HR, the day of your embarkation. Do yourself a favor, come in at least one day prior. And then, I don't know if this is an option, but if the cruise line has ideas on hotels in the area, they might have a special rate. You could call the hotel directly, and see what is close to the port. I know in San Diego there are tons of hotels, so many options. And another thought is, even if the cruise line doesn't have some type of partnership like that, you could research the hotel and see if they have a shuttle. Maybe they have a shuttle service that is, will take you up to a mile away for free. We actually discovered that when we were in Seattle, we did stay at a waterfront hotel. So it was right across the street from the where we would be getting on the cruise ship. So the first day we arrived, I think around 2 o'clock. So we had time to walk around, have a late lunch, and then explore the waterfront. And then we were going to go back to the hotel, rest a bit, and then go out again later. But we wanted to plan our next day as well. So I asked at the front counter, and you should do this too, ask at the front counter about, is there a free shuttle close by? Where can I find any certain specific kind of restaurant? They work in that area and they're in the hospitality industry, so they can have a lot of information to provide for you. Thank you for all the likes, you guys. It's creeping up. We're at 2.7. Great job. So when I asked at the front desk, she offered, the concierge might know if there's a shuttle, because she initially said no, she didn't know there wasn't a shuttle. And I thought, okay, well, that's kind of a bummer, but we'll just order an Uber. No big deal. Seattle, it's a big city. It's got to be an Uber or a Lyft. Actually, we knew that there was an Uber or a Lyft because we used that from the airport. And I have also discovered there's a light rail from the airport, and that would have been even more economical, but we wanted to go kind of the safe route and get an Uber. So when we asked the concierge, it just so happened that there was a free shuttle that stopped right out front of our hotel. And it was clearly marked with a sign. The van was clearly marked, so we wouldn't be getting into like a plain white panel van. And it took us up to the Seattle Space Needle. Well, there is a ton of stuff right there by the Seattle Space Needle. We also visited the Chihuly Glass and Gardens, which is spectacular. There is the Mopop Museum right there, Museum of Pop Culture. We didn't visit that because I didn't look at the map and realize that it's right there. Otherwise, we could have fit it in and popped over to check that out. But arriving 2 days prior to our embarkation day was perfect. We enjoyed the city of Seattle. We're actually ready to go back to Seattle. And lots of beautiful things going on at that waterfront. I did also learn that there are other transportation options around Seattle, so you could get a hotel that's farther away and use one of their public transit systems to go down to the waterfront. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Travel insurance. Oh yeah, that's true, Kath. So I think so much changed after COVID, and I'm hearing from a lot of people that it's also hard to keep employees. And me, from being unemployed, reemployed over the past 5 years, many more times than I care to count. Job search is incredibly difficult. You can find a job, but are they paying a reasonable wage for what they're expecting the employee to do? Not usually. Anybody can research that on Indeed. You can look up, I was looking at one, it was something like, very entry level admin assistant, but not like to the executive or the CEO or anything like that. And it was going into accounts payable, accounts receivable, reporting, greeting customers, making phone calls, setting appointments, and I'm not kidding you, it was like $20 an hour. So, anyways, not to go on that tangent, but so to have somebody that is a good, responsible, safe driver of a shuttle could probably be difficult to get depending what the budget is for that. So yes, definitely research options that are available at your destination. And then also safety. Is it okay to walk around at night in this area? Am I going to be okay, regardless of gender or age? Am I going to be okay to walk down the street to this cute restaurant that I found? Now, Anaheim, we have been to Anaheim several times. That's where Disneyland is. We have walked around after midnight, early in the morning, go to random restaurants, random coffee shops, never had a care in the world, even with our small children. Always felt safe. It's very clean. So, we were very familiar with that area. When you're traveling to an area that you don't know, you want to research the hotel, amenities close by, transportation, safe transportation, free public transportation. I don't know if everybody is aware that when you are booking a hotel, there are additional taxes that are added on to the cost of your hotel. Those taxes could be used for amenities in and around the city, such as transportation. That's probably what Seattle does with that little free van. And it did have several stops along the way. It didn't just go straight to one point, but that one turnaround point was a very popular spot. So that was like a really treasure find that we found that free shuttle. And I thought of something else when I was chatting about that. Oh, San Diego. Yeah, you could ask about that. You could ask, there could be kind of like unadvertised amenities that aren't specific to the hotel, but that the hotel participates in because of those fees. In San Diego, we have a trolley system that isn't really amazing, but you could, so I say it's not amazing because they try to paint a picture of it being like excellent for commuters if you want to commute to work, but it literally would take you 2 hours. I live about 30 minutes from where I work if I need to go into the office. And then from the trolley stop where I would get off, I would have to walk another 3 miles. You can't do that when you're heading into work. Anyways, so, but in the downtown area and in our hotel area, it is doable. So maybe there's a shuttle from the hotel to the trolley. And then you pay a small fee for the trolley can take you into downtown. So that's what I'm saying. Like if you don't want to stay downtown, which is $500 a night, but you could stay in Hotel Circle, which is maybe $300 a night, and you pay $5 for a day pass to the trolley, you kind of balance out your travel dollars. But that's a great tip, Kath. I like that. Ask what the additional fees get used for. So ask at your hotel what do those additional fees get used for? There could be some hidden community type amenities that the hotel participates in because of the hospitality tax. All right. Oh, so there's another option with travel insurance. A lot of people have travel credit cards. So what are the perks of that travel credit card? Is the perk a better rate, a better interest rate on your travel expenses? Is it a higher number of rewards points for your travel expenses? It might include travel insurance. And again, this is where your research and your reading comes in handy, because just glancing at a few of the websites that talk about travel credit cards, so something like NerdWallet or what was the other one I was looking at? Sorry, I'm checking my computer. NerdWallet presents, oh, these are some great travel credit cards, but one of them offered travel insurance, one of them just offered higher points. There's other perks, but speaking specifically of travel insurance, that is correct, Kath. So, and when I'm talking about the travel insurance or travel credit card, I'm thinking specifically of if you are purchasing your travel in the US, why are you using a travel credit card? Is it for the points? Is it for the extra coverage? What is the annual fee? What is the interest rate? What are the perks? What's the whole picture? Okay, so let's see what. And there are websites that will do the comparisons for you. I believe Hawaiian. Yeah, there you go. Lalila has presented that she purchased it for the extra coverage and then the points, and it's cheaper. So I did see on NerdWallet that you can compare the different cards. So you can compare what the typical interest rate is, what the annual fee is, what you get for that annual fee. I believe it was Hawaiian Airlines used to offer one free companion fare. And so that would be a perk that would offset the cost of the annual fee. Let's see. Is the card, so these are notes that I wrote. Is the card considered a travel card because it gives more points for travel-related expenses, such as hotel, airlines, and cruise vacations? Or does it also include travel insurance? What type of coverage? And then also you're going to want to ask yourself, are the costs and fees reasonable compared to the points earned and the coverage offered? So just because it says it's a travel credit card, it may not include travel insurance. But you could also have, Lalila has mentioned the Venture X card. You could have a regular credit card that offers travel insurance, but it's not specifically advertised as a travel credit card. Let's see. Travel time. You're going to want to factor in time for delays as best as you can. I was watching a live stream yesterday, and the person was saying how, and they weren't going to a cruise, they were just going from point A to point B to meet a friend, and they had a 22-hour delay. They were not up against a deadline, but that did create an inconvenience. Now, if you have travel insurance, you would want to check and see if that would be a situation where you could file a claim because you had a travel delay. Also, you want to know what are your rights in general for compensation if the airline oversells, overbooks, boots you from your flight. How much are they supposed to offer? What is the maximum they can offer to you if you volunteer to be bumped from the flight? There's so many things. Honestly, I learned so much off of TikTok and YouTube. There are so many resources out there for us to be informed travelers. So one thing for sure, do your research. If you are interested in, the terminology is hiring a travel agent, but the travel agent would be paid by the service provider. I do not book air because there's just so much volatility with the airlines, and it's getting so much more unpredictable for whether the airline is going to cancel your flight, delay your flight, have mechanical issues. And sometimes it doesn't even seem that there's a reasonable reason why something happened, or why it's delayed, why it's canceled. It's not whether it's not anything tangible. So Kath has a question. Would travel insurance cover if the airline's overbooked? I actually do not know the answer to that question, and I had that question myself. So I'm going to write that down. So travel insurance cover for overbooking. And then the other thought I had, I was listening to a TikTok post, and the person said that they were offered $800 to be voluntarily, I call it booted, voluntarily booted off the flight, and the airline wasn't getting any volunteers. He was traveling, I believe, in, let me do the math, a party of 6, I believe. And then the airline offered $1,500 per person. So his whole family volunteered to be booted. So I thought of that question. If they were compensated by the airline, would you still be able to make a claim? Would it be covered? And would the claim payment be offset by what the airline paid you? Not that you're trying to do something, not on the up and up, but that's something that you would like to be informed about so that you would know when to make that claim. So maybe during the claim process, they're going to ask you, did you receive any compensation? So that's something to be informed about. If there are travel delays, what are your rights as a recipient of those services? Let's see. And I saw something, Lalila has mentioned that she gets a $300 travel credit every year, and she gets 10 times the points when using her card, and she gets travel insurance. Lalila, is that a separate travel insurance in addition, or is that what you're saying is included? The travel insurance is included. The famous sum in air quotes. So, and that's one thing that's very important, to be informed ahead of time. What's covered. Okay, included when purchasing using your card. So if you're purchasing your travel expenses with your card, then you get travel insurance included. And that's actually really awesome, because if you're able to purchase all of your travel expenses, you've got your purchase records, you've got your costs, your expenses, everything. So you could do your airfare, your transportation. If it's a cruise, your cruise. If it's a destination, then your hotel. Anything that you're purchasing at the hotel, you're earning your points. And of course, we're all talking about being responsible with using our credit. And you could save in your vacation account, purchase on your card, and pay off the card. You're still earning the points. You're still getting the perks of the card. So I mentioned becoming unemployed, and so that's kind of had put, oh yeah, see, win-win. There you go. Don't have to buy phone insurance because you purchase with your credit card. Perfect. And that's one thing about being a really informed consumer. Know what you're getting with your credit card. So I work in the mortgage industry. I've been in the mortgage industry for a bazillion years. I have worked in many different capacities, in many different roles, titles, job duties. I have a varied background, but one of the companies I worked for was downsizing in 2020, right at the height of the pandemic. So in March, I believe, of that year was the pandemic. We were notified in June that our department would be laid off. Excuse me. So then, because I've worked in the mortgage industry forever, we were able at that time, the department consisted of about 5 people that were being laid off. We were able at that time to network and to get another job with one of the clients that we worked with. So many of us, we just dispersed on to other clients that we had worked with. So we would now work or be employed by them. So that company that I went to, I worked there for about 18 or 19 months, maybe 20. And suddenly one day we had a Zoom call and we were notified, hey, the company's closed, you guys are not employed. Literally that very second they said, you're not employed. Oh yeah, Lalila, I've thought of that. So why can't you? Do they not? Oh, you know what? I think when I pay mine, it says you can't do that. I think the risk is to the credit card company that somebody might dispute the charges, which is crazy, right? So during that first layoff, and I had been laid off before, I've always tried to keep my resume refreshed, always try to communicate all my skills, and keeping my resume refreshed helps me keep track of my employment records, experience, and all that. So on that fine day, July 7th of whatever year it was, I don't remember, they told us in that instant the company is closed. So because I had been through that before, I kind of absorbed, and you do have the initial emotion like anger, sadness about colleagues, not necessarily the company. Then the onion started to peel. So bear with me while I tell my story of the amazing past 5 years. So we learned after the fact that the owner of the company had this happen before, where he suddenly closed. And when that happened with the other company, I don't even remember the name. The first name was American something. So when it happened with American, the company suddenly closed. He was sanctioned by the SEC. Yeah, Securities and Exchange Commission. He was barred from doing business in mortgage for a certain period of time. I'm going to use the word absconded with, but I don't know that that's the correct legal term. He absconded with money that he owed to service providers. So if he contracted for a computer system that he would use, he didn't pay that vendor. He didn't pay the loan officers their commissions. He didn't pay the staff their wages. Now, this is the first company, American. Then, when we were laid off suddenly, that July 7th, then that was just the tip of the iceberg. Other things were behind the scenes. Literally, this Zoom call was 30 seconds. We didn't even have time to ask, what do we do with our equipment? What about our benefits? What about, whatever? And then they just hung up. We were left high and dry. If we had contact information from our coworkers, we could text them, but HR was not available, nothing. So then as we started to file our unemployment claims, which in California the max you could get is $450 a week, then some people started to find out that their wages weren't even reported. Others found out that their insurance benefits were not paid to the insurance company. So, just an example, they take the money out of your check, they pay it to Blue Cross for your or Aetna for your insurance, then you have your insurance coverage. So I mentioned we were laid off July 7th, so you're supposed to have coverage for at least that month because it would have been paid July 1st. No. What we learned was the insurance premiums had not been paid since the end of April. So there was no coverage in May, there was no coverage in June, and there would be no coverage in July. We also learned payroll was supposed to be processed the next day, so that would pay us our full final check, which would be equal to the week we just worked plus the 2 weeks that would be in that pay period that was to be processed and paid July 8th. They didn't pay us that at all. There's also something called the WARN Act, W-A-R-N. It has to do with giving notice to employees that they will be laid off, and the requirement is 60 days. So they could notify you and stop doing business the same day, but they would have to pay you for 60 days. Nope. We weren't getting our 3 weeks wages. The loan officers were not getting their commissions. The vendors were not being paid. And he committed insurance fraud because he took the money out of the checks and didn't pay it to the insurance provider. So then we found out somebody did us a favor. I wasn't covered under the medical, and worked with the insurance provider, which luckily participated and took the premiums, and they got the coverage through the end of July. Then as time went by, we learned, because everybody started to take legal action as a group, that the outstanding amount of money that he owed to the vendors and to the employees and the loan offers, all of that, was $60 million. That was when we found out that people that worked for him had worked for him before at the other company, and they were working with us. Never gave a heads up. Why would you work for him again? Why? So then, because he's such a professional scoundrel, we discover that the reparations that we were, no, it wasn't American Title. It was American Funding or something. You can look him up. His name is Michael J. Strauss, and it was Sprout Mortgage. That's who I worked for. So if you look up Michael J. Strauss and American or sanctions with the SEC, then you should be able to find like the history. So let's see. So so the legal, it says I disconnected. I don't, can you still see me? Couldn't connect. Trying to reconnect now. Interesting. It says go to live studio. I don't want to click anything because it looks like I'm still connected. I don't know why it would disconnect. My internet is strong. Oh yeah, no, it's not the same, Lalila. So he has a penthouse on Park Avenue. His daughters are young adults now, but they are participating in equestrian endeavors in New York, or they were during this time. So, hi, Cruising with Calandra. Welcome, welcome. So I'm just telling my background story of trials and tribulation with employment and not being able to travel because being broke with no income. The reparations that we could recover for our wages is the federal minimum wage, which at that time was less than $8 an hour. I live in California. You can't do shit for $7 an hour. I literally think you can't even ship for $7 an hour. But anyways, so then I was able to find another job. And so he legally had his businesses in different names to like protect himself so that people couldn't sue this entity to get money for this other entity, et cetera, et cetera. Then we find out he was able to get a new NMLS number. Yeah, $60 million. He started another brokerage under his wife, and they issued him another NMLS number, which is a required number for being a broker, loan officer, etc. How do these records not talk to each other? Anyways, then all the employees reported that, and they stopped him from being a broker. But so then I got another job that was going to be temp to perm. It was like started in November. No, they didn't issue the NMLS to his wife. They issued it to him under his wife's company. So I don't think she had one, but she supposedly started the business. Yeah, to him in Illinois, I think. I don't know. It is completely insane. Like, unless people look it up, they really cannot believe. So then I got another job. That job ended in July. I got a new job in November, and that was going to be the budget and seeing, because Q4 nobody's really like looking to hire mass amounts of people. So I got a temp to perm. It was going to become permanent around April 1st, so after Q1, and they do the budget and all that good stuff. Well, March, they announced they're downsizing, and I'm not going to be going permanent. I was like, okay, I can't make this up. So I worked at Silvergate Bank, which was an amazing place to work. I worked in the secondary marketing division, but they also had a crypto division that got looped into the whole Alameda Sam Bankman-Fried scandal, and they basically imploded because that division did not do adequate due diligence. I was downsized out of there before all that happened. And then it imploded. Then the next, yeah, I'm fine with crypto. It's just that the people at that establishment were not doing their due diligence adequately. So then the next company was Civic Lending, Civic Mortgage, I don't remember the name even. Closed a few months after I was there, and then luckily I was able to get an interview and a new job June 2023, and that's where I'm at now. So, but gaps in employment and trying to find employment, my income is now half what it used to be. So luckily I am married and my husband has a great job, but it has seriously impacted our travel budget. So I'm becoming a travel agent. I'm continuing my day job, and I'm also trying to build my social media presence. So any help that I can get from all my friends here on TikTok for just following and watching the content that will evolve to become a monetization. So you can help with your time by subscribing and watching videos on YouTube, even if you just have them running in the background. I'm never going to ask you for money. I respect that everybody's dollar is precious, but I can I do not have a I do have a Facebook group, but I'm really not that active on it. They're all the same name. I believe the link is in the bio, so you can definitely go and follow there. I think it's set to public, so you don't even need to send a request for acceptance. Oh, okay. Thank you, Lalila. And I do have plenty of content that I can add to Facebook. You know what, Lalila? They keep asking me. They keep sending or telling me, hey, you're ready to get monetized. But it's things like, I forget the new gimmick, but TikTok Shop and something else, which I'm fine with letting people know the products that I use and that I enjoy and that my family uses and that we enjoy when we travel. But I can't just randomly sell different items. But that's a great heads up, Lalila, because with working a 9 to 5, and I'm blessed to be able to work from home, that does take the majority of my time, and I will be actually working a little bit this afternoon because we also have a bonus program. So I'm allowed to do a little bit of overtime, but then that overtime helps with me being able to clear more loans towards my bonus. So, you know, every little bit helps. And thank you so much. I'm going to write that down, actually, Lalila, because I am some sort of attention deficit. So, and the thing is, I try to make content that is helpful to others about I can already go live, Kath, on YouTube. Because if you use an OBS, which is a, I don't remember the name for it, but I have programs that I can use. Yeah, exactly. Change the thumbnail, post it. All right, sounds good. And that's what I need to get better at too, is making thumbnails. I've been practicing more with CapCut and doing that. It's not a challenge for me to make the thumbnails. It's a challenge for me to have the patience to make the thumbnails. So, but I really enjoy looking at other people's content. I really admire their, what am I trying to say? Creativity and making their thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. So, Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah, cool. Yes, I also have Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I'm not as active, but now I'm going to try to get that going more. But definitely, I think, Kath, the monetization on YouTube comes at 1,000. So I think that's the lowest. Yeah, okay, I'm going to check that out. I'll probably do it actually this afternoon, this evening. Um, but I have all the equipment, just basic equipment. I have the camera. Actually, I have two cameras. I just posted a video of the maiden voyage of my Insta360 camera, and that one was really fun to use. I did not try to do any editing, but I did find an amazing free editing program. It's called DaVinci Resolve, and there is a YouTuber that provides lots of tips on editing and all that kind of stuff, and I love it. Yeah, I got it at Costco, and I think, oof, I get confused with that one and my Osmo Pocket 3 um, DJI camera. I think the Insta was around 600. I'm not sure. But through Costco, there were some other added items that if you bought it through DJI, it would be closer to 900. I really love the Osmo Pocket 3 because it literally can go in your pocket. Or I carry a crossbody bag and it has a cover that you can just put that cover on it and tuck it in your bag, pocket, backpack, whatever. I do have other storage so that when I carry it more long term. But that one is the fastest just to open it up and start shooting. Now, you can use it as a webcam to go live, but I cannot find out how to go live with the Osmo Pocket 3 directly from the camera. And I do have a video about it on my YouTube showing all the features, what came with it. I got that one through Costco as well. Um, Typically, the item will sell out and then it'll come back either with the next best version or the same version. So keep an eye on Costco. Um, yeah, but it's really easy to use. Getting familiar with the controls, it's a little bit different than a gimbal you would use for your phone. You know, when you use your phone for taking a video. Hi, Kathy. Welcome, welcome. We're just doing a little chit chat. And I will download this video and add it to my YouTube as well. So I would really love if you guys subscribe over on YouTube. Give me a follow here. And just so you know, subscribing on YouTube is free. It does not cost anything. I don't know why they call it subscribe. It's kind of confusing. But we're approaching the 2-hour mark, so I really thank you guys for all the gifts. Always appreciated, never expected or required. But feel free to give me a follow here on TikTok. I do have all my links in my bio, and I am trying to work to grow my audience. Thank you so much. Yes, Lalila, I've got to get off too, and I'm going to go to work. Got to work on my regular job. So thank you so much for all the feedback and participation. You guys are awesome. Have a great day. Bye-bye.